Hey guys, welcome to the most powerful framework that I've created, the 4 stages of self-development. You will love this. This is personal freedom. This is self-awareness. This is where you can find yourself on a stage and figure out how to get yourself off or stay on. So this is the stage of life. I believe, just like I said, we're also in the game of life, we also are in a stage of life where we are the actress in a movie. You're the filmmaker, you're the producer, you're the actress or the actor, and you play all parts. This is your stage. Now, what I think is so interesting about the stage is when you go to school or when you go to an appointment, do you always find yourself sitting, for example, in the front row or the back row? To the left, to the right. When you go to work out, do you always go to the same machine? Do you prefer the same machine? Or do you like the same spot in, your workout classes? Do you go to the same part of the room? Why do I say that? Because when we're on this stage of life, we seem to hold one part of the stage more tightly with control. We like certain areas of the stage much more. But you see, when you're born and you are whole, you own the entire stage. You work the entire stage. You can go to all stages of life. That's the goal. Your birthright is to love your life. For you to love your life, you can have freedom wherever you go. But what we do is we put self-limiting beliefs on ourselves. Those self-limiting beliefs hold us to one part of the stage more so than another. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Do you ever feel yourself get pulled to one part of the stage of life and you can't figure out how to get out of your own way? Sometimes we blame other people for that. But really, if we want to really grow and develop into our full potential, you got to take self-responsibility. So the first stage of life, it's all about the me. So when you're born and you're young, it's all about the me, right? You have the temper tantrum to get the toy or to go play with a friend, and you stomp your feet and you really want it, and you usually get it. But what happens when you're 10 and you're still playing it's all about the me because it was reinforced that it worked? Or worse yet, when you're 20 or 30 or 40. Do you know any 40, 50, or 60-year-olds that are still living on the me? It's a sad existence. Maybe you're there, and I want to honor, because you know what? We all play here sometimes. And I'm going to give you the reason why I named this, which was not long ago. I was on this me stage it's a super funny story, which I'm going to tell you in a minute. But this is an honorable stage. This is self-protection. This is fight or flight. This is survival. This is how we are in a dangerous situation and we can persevere. Now, is it the ultimate stage? Heck no. But I don't want you to feel down if you're here. I don't want you to judge other people because they're there. What we want to do is honor and empathize this part of the stage. It's a stage that we've been on, we've touched it, and we should honor and respect it. You say things to yourself like, why me? There's a lot of pain inside. Sometimes you're in a depression state because you can't get out of your own way. So how did I name this stage? It's all about the me. My kids were 5 and 7. We were in Tahiti, and we borrowed an outrigger, the kind, the canoe and then the thing that goes on the side. So my husband and I are paddling because, my kids are too young to paddle, and we're all divers and we can swim and we love adventure in the water. So we're going out to the outer reef because my kids want to go check out the reef and go swim around with the reef sharks and the fish, and we feel as though it's safe. And so we go out there and we're just rounding the edge of the reef, and a wind, boost or windstorm or wind, I don't remember what they're called right now. Some wind comes and boom, the outrigger flips, and over the float, out of the boat we go. Boat's upside down. And so we start to swim. Me and my 2 boys are starting to swim to the reef because it's not too far away, maybe like 10 feet away. And everything is sinking. So my husband is diving down and getting the gear that's on the bottom of the ocean now. And he puts on his mask so he can go get all the rest of the stuff. And I may be like 5 feet away from the reef with my 2 other sons. And he says, "Hey, Kerry." And I go, "Yeah?" He goes, "There's sharks all over." Okay, well, I wasn't really prepared for the shark at that moment. I was thinking I was gonna have my mask on, I was gonna be all prepared, I was gonna be close to my husband because he's okay with swimming with sharks and he can handle that kind of stuff. I was excited and curious because I know the reef sharks aren't gonna hurt us, but when I heard shark, I went into fight or flight survival. I booked it as fast as I could to that reef, and I was climbing up as fast as I could to get on top of that reef, and my little 5-year-old was right behind me. He was in total panic too. I had no vision. I couldn't hear his panic. I couldn't see his panic. I was all about the Mimi. I get on the reef and I'm pushing my 2 kids out of the way so I can save myself. Now, am I proud of that moment? No. I'm not proud of that moment, but I was all about the Mimi. My older son grabbed the mask, jumped in, and couldn't wait to dive in with the sharks too. He didn't have fight or flight going on. Me and my younger son, total fight or flight. We were elbowing each other off. My husband was laughing so hard, watching us elbow each other out of the way to get on top of the reef. Now, I tell you that story because it's funny, but it's really an embarrassing moment for me because it's not a proud moment. And when you're all about the Mimi, you don't mean to hurt the people that you love. You know, that's not, my intention wasn't to elbow my son out of the way. My intention was fight or flight. I'm in survival. So when you understand that people are in survival in this stage, you can offer a helping hand. So I want you to understand that when you're here, you're saying things like, "Why me? Why is this happening to me?" When I was in the doctor's office and the doctor was telling me what my options were, let me tell you, I left that night. I cried all night, wondering why is it happening to me? But remember what I said. How long are you down before you can lift yourself up and get going where you want to go? You're limited here on this stage. You're limited by your own abilities. Now, your abilities are only in your mind. So I could have been limited because the doctor's been to school longer. He knows way more than I do. I don't know anything about what my son was going through, how to solve the problem. I didn't care. I was not going to be limited by my abilities. I was willing to put in the effort to create clarity of health. So you can get off the Mimi when you open and expand your mind. You're also going to stick on the Mimi if you're ego-driven. Now, that might sound harsh, but when you're on the Mimi, you are fully in your power center and totally in the ego. This is one of the most egocentric stages of life. I was so into myself that I'm elbowing my 5-year-old out of the way on a reef. I mean, come on. That's not something to be proud of, but it was real. When you're in the all about the Mimi, it's real. You are fully self-centered and you are totally taking care of yourself. You are in confusion. It's scary. You don't know how to help yourself. But you know the scary thing is it's isolation. If you don't pick yourself up and you live here for a long period of time, you live in isolation. Do you ever feel like people don't understand you, so you don't ask for help? People don't understand you, so you stay inside on the couch versus going out and being with people. Self-pity. Super dangerous. This is also where, if you're married or you've been in a situation where you've had a spouse cheat on you or you cheat on them, what ends up happening is you are totally sense-driven, worried only about your senses and only about yourself. So spouse goes out of town, senses need to be fulfilled. You find someone cute or someone that you've been watching or whatever, and you do something that you wish you didn't do, or at least I hope that you wish you didn't do, because you made a commitment to someone else and you screwed up and you cheated on someone, or they cheated on you, not because they're malicious, but because they're stuck on the Mimi. This type of a relationship has a hard time lasting for the long term. If it does last for the long term, it's a hard relationship to make it enjoyable because it's self-centered. So how do you get off the me? The way you get off the me is you gotta be aware that you're on the me stage, number one. Number two is you gotta ask for help, because this is a hard stage to get off of. This is the hardest stage to get off of, because you gotta get out of yourself and ask for help. If you see someone that's on the me, this is where suicide happens. This is where you go push yourself and you gotta go ask people and tell people you're there to help and go get them, because this is dangerous. You don't want people here for a long period of time. And if you are on the me and you just visit it, the way you get off is you go give without asking anything in return. Just go offer you and go offer assistance. Give gratitude, for example. That's why on the productivity sheet, I'm asking you to give five graces of gratitude to 5 people, because you gotta give beyond yourself. Gratitude's an easy way to do it. All right, so let's move off the me and we're going to the right part of the stage. Why right? Okay, before I even reveal it, this is the need to be right. This is the stage where this is the right stage to be on. I'm going to protect this stage, because if I don't, then what's going to happen? It's the if-then stage. Have you ever been in a relationship where someone says, if you eat your fruit or vegetables, you can have dessert? Have you ever had that? Were you raised with, if you get A's, then you get $50. If you score a goal in your soccer game today, I'll give you 25. If you do this, then I'll do that. If you take me to dinner, I'm expecting sex. If then. Dangerous. Dangerous. Why is this dangerous parenting? Why is this dangerous in a relationship? Because when you raise kids with, if you score, I pay you, they want you to recognize them. They're not finding the willpower from within and following their dreams for them. They're living for you. And eventually, it's going to turn against you, and it's not going to be fun. You're going to have a difficult teenager or a difficult 20-year-old because they're resentful because they weren't living their life. People, humanity, individuals, they want to live for themselves. So as a parent, it's really important to empower your kids to follow their dreams, because if they don't, then there's a consequence. They will be sure of it. And if you have a teenager, I'm sure you're aware of the if-then. Dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. It starts when they're little. Now, if you have a teenager or 20-year-old and you're just becoming aware of this, no biggie. Time starts now. If you're in a relationship and you're saying, if you take out the trash, then I'll drive the kids, that's trading. That's whoring yourself out. What about just saying, I'll drive the kids? That's it. Just do it because you want to do it. Do the dishes or cook because that's what you're going to do. It's not a trade. Now, we live in a society of if-then. It's the way we work. If you pay for a massage, then you get the service. If-then. The reason why that's healthy is because it's a fair trade. There's no greed. The way you know if it's an unfair trade is if there's going to be a consequence. They're going to pay if they don't do it. Now, if you find yourself going, if you don't do that, then this is what's going to happen, you're stuck on the if-then. It's not a healthy relationship. And these relationships over the long term have a hard time lasting too, because, well, you're not really loving each other. You're saying, if you do that, then I'll do this. What about love each other, right? This is a really difficult stage too to have a healthy relationship. It's a reward system. And who really wants to be in a relationship with a reward system? Don't you just want to be loved? So if you're stuck here and you're rewarding other people, just check yourself. If they don't succeed or they don't, achieve the award, are you upset? If not, maybe it's a fair trade like the massage. If you're upset and there's going to be a punishment, you're here. Great check. So on the if then, you kind of have, what does it look like? You kind of have the good life. You got the good car, you got the good spouse, you got the good kids, or at least it looks like you got the good kids. And you got the good job title, you got the cute doodle dog, you got, all the outside stuff looks really great on the if then. But what really is going on is you've crutched everything. Everything looks really good, but on the inside there's a hollowness. There's an emptiness because you're really living for outside circumstances. You're not living from within. You look good, but inside there's sadness. Inside there's guilt. Inside there's depression. Inside, this is where I was when I went into the doctor. Are you living your life for someone else? Are you living your life so the outside thinks you're all okay? If so, you may be here. You also may be here. And no problem. We want to understand all the stages. We just want to know how to get off. This is where you're controlling your outside world so much to where, maybe you know someone like this, where when you go somewhere, people need to be and act in a certain way or else. So, for example, I was raised in a wonderful family, yet you had to be a certain way or else. Because, and it wasn't or else because it was negative and horrible, I just knew that there was going to be a consequence because certain things were expected. For example, if I came home and, let's see if I can come up with them right off the top. So if you acted a certain way and then my dad didn't like it, like if you didn't look at him in the eyes when he was talking. Okay, that was it. If you don't look at my eyes, then you're going to get in trouble. So I know how to look at adults in the eyes. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Neither here nor there. The problem was there was a punishment that was, that I got yelled at. How come he couldn't have just looked at me and said, "Hey, Kerry, when you look at me in your eyes, I can see that you're paying attention. And when you pay attention, I can see that you're really going to make a difference in your life and those that are around you." I would have been like all balls, eyes, big eyes, looking at him in honor, in respect. But instead, I was looking up in fear. I was afraid to get yelled at. I'm a super, super sensitive person. And when anyone raises their voice or yells, it's really hurtful to me. And so what ended up happening was he would yell and he would get, not aggressive, but yell a little bit and raise his voice. I would get intimidated. I would shrink. Do you ever feel like that? That when someone raises their voice, you shrink. Are you doing that? And if so, maybe honor the person and ask them, when you do this, when you look at me in the eyes, I can see you. I can see that you're making a difference. Let them know what you're looking for, not threaten with if-then. That's the if-then stage. So how do you get off the if-then stage? Just like stage one, you got to be aware that you're here. You're trading. It's out of greed. It's not fairness. And what you got to bring in is conscious thought. Conscious thought means when you're like, for example, when I was talking with my dad's situation where he demanded that I looked at him in the eyes or I was going to get yelled at, conscious thought would have been, here's this little girl who wants to do well. She's not meaning to hurt anyone. She just doesn't look at me in the eyes. Conscious thought would be like, I'm going to honor her and say, hey, Kerry, I know you're trying to do a good job, but you know what? You could have made a different choice here, and let me tell you why. And meet me where I was. All I wanted to do was do well. Most kids do. Most kids do. But most kids, parents, aren't giving them the time and respect because we're all about self-absorption. We're not worried about our truly deep inside. We're worried about more of ourselves than our kids. And more about ourselves than the health of our relationships. And before I move on to this one, I just want to say the quality of your life is a direct correlation to the quality of your relationships, and more importantly, the quality of the relationship with the voice inside your head. What are you telling yourself? So let's move on to the next stage, which is love for the sake of love. Now, I believe strongly that we are the vibration of love. I believe inside that's who we are. Now, whatever religion or spiritual path you go on, I honor you and that path. It's all good. Because I believe that the center of each of whatever those are is love. So loving for the sake of love. You are giving because you're giving love because that's who you are. Have you ever been fortunate enough to be in a relationship or have someone unconditionally love you? Have you ever unconditionally loved someone? Meaning no strings attached. No strings attached. They just love you because they love you. Now, a lot of parent-child relationships are unconditional love. But just as fast as they're unconditional love, they jump to the if-then. Can we stay on the love for the sake of love? Meaning asking nothing in return. Giving the guidance. Play inside. These are the rules inside the park. Touch the outside of the park, we're going to have a little bit of discipline and a little responsibility that's going to be in your face. That's going to say, hey, I honor you. You chose, poorly, but I know you're doing well. You're going to look at them in the eyes with honor and respect and guide them to go back into the rules. You're going to love for the sake of love. You are the observer. What does the observer mean? You're able to see the bigger vision. You're able to watch the process of life unfold. You're able to guide and to love without strangling with control. You have a vision of perfect health. But is my son perfect health? No, no one is. But my vision's perfect health. Am I okay when, we go to the doctor and we get news that wasn't really what I wanted? I'm cool with it. I just know I need to change my path. Are you cool with the challenges that are coming into your life? Is your heart open so you can love for the sake of love? Open doors, open your peripheral vision so you can see clearly and move forward. Things that go into your mind are things like, this too will pass. Right? That's super powerful. When I'm in a situation that could throw me into fight or flight, my trigger is, this too will pass. I have everything that I need to overcome this challenge. I'm willing to put in the effort and consistency to overcome the challenge because I know the only way out of this challenge is love for the sake of love. What are you doing with your challenges? Are you controlling them to where if that happens, then this is the result? Or you're going to kick and scream and have a temper tantrum, an adult temper tantrum? No judgment anywhere, just where are you? Super, super important. So love for the sake of love. So currently, we've gone from the me, which relationships are very difficult. If then, which is trading. And then your relationship, love for the sake of love. If you're loving unconditionally your partner, your spouse, where could your relationship go? When you honor each other for who you are, where can your relationship grow? This is where relationships last a lifetime. How are your relationships? Are you helping each other? You're guiding each other to reach your full potential? And if someone, is down for the count, are you helping each other up? Not because if you do, then they'll help you. No, you're helping them up because they need a helping, loving hand. And then you go together. You're meeting each other more than 50% of the way. I believe in a relationship, what my grandmother told my dad and my mom and what have passed on to me is you got to give 150% in your relationship. Why? Because when someone goes down and they only can give 50%, you're willing to give the 150. You got to be willing to give beyond. So where do you go from love for the sake of love? What stage is here? This is the ultimate. How do you get here? The way you get here is you got to love, you got to see people in their eyes and in their soul. You got to see them for what they are, which is love. You got to love your enemy. Now, This is the ultimate. Gandhi, of course, is the ultimate. He proved to the world that you can love your enemy. I mean, hands down, that man, amazing, beautiful guide for all of us to study and all of us to understand that it's possible to love your enemy. Now, I want to bring this back home really quick because this is a really distant thing. Gandhi's life is a saint's life, which is very difficult for us as a human being on our, maturity level to be able to demonstrate. So what is that? If you have had an experience, or you could imagine with me for a second, you have a teenager, an older teenager, whose spirit and choices, it's starting to get dark. They're making bad choices. They're not honoring themselves. They don't see themselves for who they truly are. They're starting to define themselves by their social life, and you can see by their choices in life. They're depressed, they're angry, they're starting to hurt possibly their friends and the people around them. But you look at them in the eyes and you say, I can see you. I know you can do well in school. I know you want to treat people well. I believe in you. I just want you to wake up because I see your full potential. Can't you see it? Can't you see those teenagers that are struggling, and they're tattooing and they're piercing, and no judgment towards any of that? But sometimes, in just a generality, I think they lose themselves and they hurt other people. Not because they genuinely want to, but because they've lost themselves. But the parent looks at them and says, I believe in you. There's always another chance. I want to help you. Now that child was an enemy to someone, but you saw beyond the enemy. You were able to love that enemy. When you have that experience of being able to love that child and see beyond the human flaws, and you have that experience, you grab that experience. Because when you grab that experience and you understand that experience, the next opportunity that you have is you start loving people like this in your community. Now, I hope you don't have any enemies, because ultimately, we don't want enemies. But if you can love your stranger like that, where you see their true potential, you can look into people's eyes and see their true potential. Dang, that's the ultimate. That's where we want to go. So I suggest you study people who've been here. So, because when you study people who have been here, for example, why are they an inspiration? They teach you how to think different. They teach you how to challenge yourself, and they live by example. These people are where we want to go. Now, what's interesting about these people is they actually don't live on the stage. They're the observer of life. They have no judgment like Jesus Christ. He was the ultimate too. He has no judgment towards the people that are on the Mimi. He has no judgment towards the if-then. And same with love for the sake of love. He honors and sees each individual as purity of light and love. That's where we're going. It's important to understand, begin with the end in mind so we know where we're going. Who cares you're stuck on the Mimi? Who cares? Just pick yourself up, brush the grass off, get back into the game, and know the path of where we're going. Be the observer of life. Understand your internal dialogue. We're going to start creating journals of that internal dialogue so you can understand why you say to yourself what you say. Are you saying, why me? Are you threatening if then? Are you saying this too will pass? Or are you saying and seeing in yourself that all is well and all will work out because what is? Where is your internal dialogue? Start writing your internal dialogue down, because your internal dialogue, you may think you're somewhere, but you might find out your internal dialogue pulls you somewhere else. You don't know. You got to start writing down your internal dialogue, because when you understand and you can catch yourself in the 4 stages of self-development, you are living your birthright, and your birth responsibility is to be happy and to live at your full potential, which only you know and which is only limited by your self-beliefs. Those self-beliefs are in your internal dialogue. So this is the stages of self-development. I've given you a PDF copy of the solution to your baggage. I do the whole book only on this framework. So enjoy it, take care of it, and go ahead, jump onto your... So your birth responsibility is to be happy and to live your life at your full potential. So what I want you to do is understand the 4 stages of development. Enjoy the book, Solution to Your Baggage. Find where you are on this stage and embrace where you're at. No judgment. You have the remedies to get up and get off. If you're here, email us, ask for help. We are here for you. We love you. And as always, be bright, be beaming, be beautiful, and most important, be you. Now go out there and live a life to love.